That Sober Guy podcast contains adult content, merciless truth, and emotional nudity. Listener discretion is advised.
I'm Shane Raymer. You're listening to That Sober Guy podcast, and we help people stay sober. If it's your first time listening, welcome. I'm so glad you're here today. If you've been listening for a long time, thank you for supporting the podcast. Always great to have you back. Our guest today is Aubrey Huff. I'm so pumped to share this conversation with you. Aubrey played Major League Baseball for 13 seasons with the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, the Houston Astros, Baltimore Orioles, Detroit Tigers, and a team that is close to my hometown in the East Bay area, the San Francisco Giants, which Aubrey was a part of when the San Francisco Giants won 2 World Series championships. He shares a great story about that in the podcast. Aubrey also recently started a clothing line called Alpha Americans. You can check that out at alphaamerican.com. Give Aubrey a follow, Instagram at HuffDaddy76 and also at Alpha_American_official. We're going to get to Aubrey in just a minute, but first, be sure to check us out at thatsoberguy.com. You can follow us on Instagram at thatsoberguypodcast. Please join us on Locals. That community is growing like crazy. That Sober Guy Locals community. You can help support us there. You can be part of a growing sober community that's safe. It'll help you stay accountable. You'll have some fun in the process. Couple hundred members in there. It's really starting to grow. I love watching it. Everybody posting in there, sharing, having a place to connect, build some friendships, some fellowships, and stay accountable. Such an important thing when we're trying to give up drinking, especially in those early first couple of days, weeks, months. So if you want to join, we'd love to have you. You can download the Locals app at either of the app stores, and I'll put those links in the show notes for you. Or you can go to that soberguypodcast.locals.com and you can go there and go straight on your laptop or your desktop, however you'd like to do that, over your phone. Once again, you can download the app, and it's an easy way to find it. Sign up to be the first notified about a new course we're launching. I am very excited about this too. It's called Quit Drinking Dude, the ultimate men's guide to quit alcohol and stay sober for 30 days or more. Man, I've put a lot of work into this. I'm still working on it actively right now. We're going to have it ready in just the next couple of weeks. It's a podcast daily course that has actionable items to take away and help you stay connected every day for 30 days and help you quit drinking, and not just help you, but inspire you too. What's your why? We're going to ask those questions. Do some writing, do some thinking, do some podcasting. There's some videos in there, and there's a ton of great resources to help keep you connected. And so I'd love to shoot you an email as soon as it's ready, as soon as it's launched. Just one more time, go to thatsoberguy.com and you'll see a pop-up there. You can enter your email, and I will shoot you over that email as soon as the course launches in just a couple of weeks. And if you're listening to this later on, it's already been launched. So if you'd like to check it out, Quit Drinking Dude, the ultimate men's guide to quit alcohol and stay sober for 30 days or more. All the links today will be in the show notes for you, make it easy to find. And look, before we kick this thing off with Aubrey, I just want to say a big thank you to him for coming on the show, speaking so openly about using alcohol, about using Adderall and his struggle with that, about giving up drinking, shares some stories about baseball, of course, one in particular about Nolan Ryan, which is great. And it was funny. There's some good elements of all different parts of a good conversation today of two dudes just hanging out and shooting the shit. Also shares about his father, man, some personal stuff too. So I'm so excited to share this with you guys. We love you guys, man. This is one thing about the sober community is we can all be different. We can have different opinions. We can have different viewpoints. And at the end of the day, we can respect those and we can come together as one and we can learn from each other. Even when we disagree with certain things, we can still learn if we keep an open mind and understand that we all have freedom to make choices that affect our lives and our families the way that we want to. And that's one of the most beautiful things about this beautiful country that we live in. And I'm just so happy to be a part of your recovery, of the community itself, and really stoked to have Aubrey Huff on the podcast today. So without further ado, here is Aubrey Huff. Man, look at all them shirts in the background, dude. That's
man.
nice. I got the stock.
I just got full inventory yesterday, so we're ready to rock some my shit. I can't keep these damn things in stock, dude. It's crazy.
Oh, I bet. And you haven't even launched, you didn't launch Alpha American not that long ago, right? I mean, just.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't even been 3 months, dude.
Yeah,
it's been crazy. Are we live right now?
Yeah, I just hit record. So I think what I'm going to do is, if that's cool with you, we can pause if we need to. Just let me know.
Okay.
Obviously, we're not live streaming, so we're good on that.
Right.
It's going to be, I'll fix everything in post production. But yeah, it was funny. I did a podcast with Ed Lattimore a couple weeks back. I think I had sent it to you. And normally I do. A little format, little intro and stuff too. But I've been noticing lately that I don't know what it is for maybe it's Zoom or whatever platform it is. It's nice to like just get on and just like chat. So I'm just kind of doing the post-production later, I think, as I'm moving forward with the show. So it's been fun, man. It's been a good time.
Yeah. I like loose, casual chit chats, like you're having a drink with a buddy at a bar,
Exactly.
right? Even though this is not a drinking podcast, right?
Yeah.
I was doing a podcast a little bit over a year ago, and I had, management involved. People tell me what I should and shouldn't say, and they picked my host, and then I had guests that I didn't even want on. It was the most miserable experience of my life. And I'm launching a podcast Monday with a guy named Vince Russo, who owns the platform. He said, dude, you got free reign. We'll set you up with a telephone call. You can have callers call in. It's just going to be me talking with my audience loosely, having fun, right? I'm sure I'll get some haters, but just, something that's easy and where I'm not pumping a lot of money into it. It's more of a mission and a passion than anything, right?
Yeah, dude. Two things you said. Number one, having fun. So because I've been doing this show since 2014. I was 6 months sober at the time, and I was like, man, how am I going to stay sober? Maybe I could share my story and help some other people. Let's start a podcast. I don't even know what the hell a podcast was at the time, but started it, and people asked me, well, how long are you going to do it? What's this? What's that? I said, man, the day that I stop having fun doing it is when I'll quit, because what the hell is doing anything if it's not, fun at the same time? And then I think that's what people want to hear. They want to hear real conversations. They don't need a bunch of management BS, like controlling everything from the outside, so that's cool. What's the name of the podcast? Can you talk about it? Or
it's I think we're going to call it Off the Cuff with Aubrey Huff.
Nice.
And it's going to be about pretty much anything. I'm an open book, man.
Yeah.
I can talk about pretty much anything. I wouldn't consider myself a book smart guy. I mean, I went to University of Miami, so I'm kind of stupid when it comes to those kinds of issues and with books and class and everything like that. But I have always had the ability to read the room, communicate with people, look them in the eyes, shake their hand, be able to give people exactly what they need to hear if they're struggling in this area or that area. Because I've been through damn near all of it. I think the biggest people in the world that have gone through experiences like you and I have, people can get the most out of. Not so much people that are making a ton of money speaking, right? So, I just want to share my story, and I have what you call common sense smarts, I think.
Yep.
And so it plays well in the podcasting world, hopefully.
One of my favorite pamphlets by Thomas Paine, Common Sense.
Which is being lost in today's world.
100%. And I think that, it says in one of the books of the programs that many of the people who listen to this show are a part of, God gave us brains to use. And so if we step back a minute and use a little bit of common sense, a little bit of critical thinking, I've been talking a lot lately about perception versus reality. Like, I know that I'm having this conversation with you right now. It's real. Like, I can see you, we're talking. The shit that comes through a screen or a television or whatever, we only know what we've been told over the years. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I love just kind of stepping back and just, if I stay in that lane of what I can see and what I know is real, man, I can have a little bit of a better experience. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing that I found that, like, over the last 2 years with all this pandemic nonsense going on, when all this COVID started happening, my first 6 months, you're locked in the house. All I was watching was Fox News, and then I'd go to CNN and just watch the difference and the flip flop, and just watching the riots and all that stuff. And my mind started getting really dark, right? And like, wow. I started feeling bad, depressed. it wasn't, just being locked in your house. And what I started doing, I started drinking. Tucker comes on at 5. I'm going to start having a whiskey and let's enjoy watching the world burn. Right.
Yeah.
Just soak it down. And that got pretty bad for a while. And then, one day I just woke up, I got to turn this shit off.
Yeah.
And I just kind of purged from it and, got back into the word. Right. And I think, one of the big steps, the 12 steps is your higher power. Mine's Jesus Christ. Right.
Yeah.
And so I think my faith really kind of brought me back and turning off that negativity and getting back to positive thinking. And I didn't quit immediately. I mean, there was mishaps and screw ups, and you had a 6 days sober, then you screw up on a weekend. And it's to the point now where I'm about 22 days in, longest I've been in quite a while.
Nice, man.
And and honestly, I'm at that point now. And I think a lot of people that have tried to quit drinking, my biggest challenge is the boredom, right?
Yeah.
When I don't have my kids, it's a Monday. Last night was hard, and I'm sitting in my house. It was about 5:30, and I'm thinking to myself, man, what do I do? I've done my shirt stuff. I was over it. I've done it all day long. Didn't want to really watch the news. I'm like, hold on a second, I got to get out of here. So I just hit a bike ride. And, I did like a 5-mile bike ride, came home, had a protein shake, and I was great.
Hell yeah.
And I feel like over the last 3 weeks, the one thing I've done that's really helped is I'm a morning workout guy.
Yeah.
So I switched my morning workouts to later in the evening. So when that 5 o'clock need to pour 5 o'clock somewhere bullshit comes, hey, I'll just go in the gym and get something, feel that negative addiction with something positive. That's worked for me so far.
Yeah, that's great, bro. The gym is a big one. We just joined up over here at UFC in Huntington Beach because we moved here a few months ago. So we're kind of just trying to get dialed back in and meet some new people and just get the community aspect going. And I finally got a DUT workout in yesterday. We're doing some boxing and kickboxing, and the high that I get from that, the natural high, the natural good feelings, man. It's so good, number one, but very powerful at the same time. You just feel good. You feel up. And it does kind of help alleviate some of the stress, obviously. But even if you're having some of those thoughts or urges to drink, two things. I want to ask you a question, but I want to say something before I forget too. You talked about riding a bike, dude. There's something when we can reconnect to shit we did as kids, like as simple as riding a bike or a skateboard. Like I take my son to the skate park often. Whatever it is, there's something there, that childlike spirit comes out. I think that's what Jesus and God wanted us to project too, that childlike faith. It's really powerful. We get all old and moldy as men, dude. We're like fucking responsible and we got all this shit to do. And then all of a sudden it's like life hits you and man, I don't even know who I am. Do you find some of that? I mean, does that resonate with you?
Oh yeah.
Riding 100%. A bike, the gym, all that stuff, it helps.
Absolutely. Endorphins are a huge thing. And, when I got out of Major League Baseball, man, I mean, the endorphins were always so high. We were up all the time, 40,000 people screaming at you. You're going to 5-star hotels. You're getting free suits, free dinners. Everybody wants an autograph. Everybody loves you. The media is all over. It's a lifestyle where, and it's a heavily drinking lifestyle where in order to turn some of it off, at nighttime you're going adrenaline until 11 o'clock at night. Yeah. The only way to take that edge off, pound a few beers, and that was the way it was. And, it's just part of the culture of professional athletes. And I fell into that for pretty much my whole career. And then you get out of the game and holy shit, man, your identity suffers. You don't know who you are as a man. You've been this guy that's brought home the bacon, this alpha male with his uniform on. Ladies love you. Men want to be you. And then all of a sudden that stops like that, right? And you struggle mentally of that purpose, that fire. I mean, it's hard to replace that adrenaline, and the average fan will never know that adrenaline out there on the field. And then when you go into the real world, you can't replicate that. Yeah. And so I think a lot of athletes, myself included, went really dark, started drinking a little bit more just to take that misery and pain away. And I even started. That wasn't even enough at times. And I would start taking a lot of Adderall. And so you add that into it too, and then you throw some more booze into it. Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, it destroyed my marriage, to be quite honest with you.
Wow.
So ended up getting divorced. And it's been a lot of ups and downs in my life. I've been to the highest highs and the lowest of lows. I mean, I've been suicidal, especially, when the divorce was going on, things of that nature.
Yeah.
And I think everybody that's gone through that divorce machine and then feeding their emptiness with booze and alcohol, if they're honest with themselves, have considered ending it all. I was there.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's been a gradual process to here, right? I mean, like I said, 22 days. I mean, it's good, it's a start, but there's a long way to go for sure. And for, I'm sure most of your audience are people that are sober or wanting to get sober or struggling to stay sober. But I think the biggest thing is, for me, the one thing that got me over the Adderall for sure was I fucking wanted it.
Yeah, that's
right.
Good.
There was no ands, ifs, or buts. There was no like, I'm going to give this a try. I really need to. I think I should. There was none of that. It was like, fuck this. I'm done. I am over this. I want to change. It's over.
Yeah.
And when I did that and I made that decision, the next morning I woke up, I didn't want it. And it was easy. And I didn't need rehab. I didn't need any of that stuff. I just quit because I wanted it. And with the booze, I'm still kind of trying to figure that out. Like, I'm on that fence. Like, am I going to do this forever? Right? Is this just a 3-month thing? I don't know. And so that scares me.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean?
And I do. And I think that's good that you point that out, because I think it scares a lot of people. I know it scared the hell out of me. That was like my crutch. That was what I went to deal. I always say, I have a problem with alcohol. I also have a problem with feeling shit. Like I don't like to feel stuff sometimes. It's, any emotion. And so alcohol is a tool to help deal with that. And one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the show, obviously, because you're on this new journey without alcohol, and it's also, man, because you have a lot of influence over dudes out there. Like, I mean, you started a company, Alpha American. I know it's geared towards men. I know you have some ladies products and stuff too, which is awesome. But dude, there's so many of us guys out there who struggle with this same shit. It's the same thing. The culture, just like you mentioned in baseball culture, just the culture in general. There's a liquor store everywhere. You go to the grocery store, there's alcohol. There's always something you can use to kind of numb out. And it's not easy to stay. I ask my wife, tell me sometimes, she goes, I don't know how you stay sober some days, just life and the kids. And here's the thing. It's because I fucking want to. I want to stay sober. I don't want to ever go back to that life. I don't ever want to go back to having to lean on that, but to your point, one day at a time, that's why we talk about that. We hear that a lot because it's easy to get so, far pushed ahead, worrying about the future, worrying about tomorrow, worrying about what if this happens, what if that happens. My homeboy Seth, he just told me one day, he said, man, just look at your feet because God's got you right where you're supposed to be. I said, man, that's good. I'm going to use that one. So it's like I can just be like I'm right here, supposed to be talking to you. One thing I wanted to ask you too, you mentioned about the adrenaline and that when you're coming off of that, how do you adjust back into like a normal life what the fuck is a normal life after living that too?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I don't think it, I was always thinking that maybe one day this feeling would go away, that I would stop just all of a sudden missing baseball. And I've come to the realization, I don't think it ever will. That's always going to be a part of me. Right. I went through that experience. My body, my heart, my spirit, you can't forget all that, right?
Yeah.
But, for me, I've replaced a lot of that passion into bettering myself in the gym. I'm actually in better shape now than when I played, which is crazy, and I'm 44 years old.
Yeah.
And I don't drink as much, that's for sure. I mean, I was a complete shit show when I played. When I look back at it now, I think to myself, how did I hit 242 career homers, hit 278 with almost 1,000 ribbies? How did I play 13 years and never get hurt?
Yeah.
And I was literally drinking every night.
Wow.
And people ask me all the time, he's like, Aubrey, you think if you would have taken care of yourself, you would have been better? I'm like, that's a good fucking question. I mean, A, maybe, or on the flip side, B, it's like that Mickey Mantle syndrome, right?
Yeah.
Where, you think you're playing good because you're drinking. And you're taking all the pressure off you think you are in your mind, right?
Yeah.
So, but I'm certainly paying for it now as I've gotten older. Everything hurts, at 44, from the baseball and everything.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling it more now that I've quit over the last 22 days. No,
it starts to come out the
right.
Yeah.
Like I feel like you're detoxing.
Yeah.
Like I hear all these stories like, man, I've never felt better. I'm like, when the fuck is that going to start happening? Right. So, I feel in the morning, you wake up, you crick a little. As the day goes on, I get in the gym, I feel a lot better. But, I know it takes time. It's a process. And I think that's another thing that people need to realize, in life in general, anything, it takes time. Right. Yeah. I know that. And for me, I've talked to plenty of people. I've gone to AA meetings. I've got buddies who are sober, like, Aubrey, you're on the right path.
Yep.
The first month, 2, 3, probably going to suck. And you're going to have a lot of demons you got to battle, but you got to sit in that uncomfortability. Yep. And just own it, man. And know that if your mind starts drifting or you're in this fog, and I've experienced a lot of that in the last weeks where I'm just foggy.
Yeah. Yep.
Right? And I'm just staring off in the distance. Like, I snap myself. I'm just staring for 10 minutes. What the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
And no, that's normal. Right. And it's your brain just years of destroying itself, and it's a little foggy, and it's healing. It'll heal. It just takes some time.
Well, I think I love that. And I think there's a good analogy to this. It's actually one of the questions I wanted to ask you about. I was kind of thinking about last night, so I was thinking about today, like the grind of being successful at anything we do, whether it's baseball, whether it's a 9 to 5, whether it's starting a company, a marriage, being a dad. There's a grind through it. There's a path, there. And so like a lot of people that say, man, Aubrey Huff won 2 World Series, Major League Baseball player. A lot of people don't take the time, or maybe they just don't know, to go back and look at the fucking grind that went through to get there. How many days did you want to quit? How many days were you like, man, I'm done. Like, this is like, I don't know, God, like what are you doing? But you ride it out, and that's part of the process. And I think it applies to the same thing that you're talking about going through right now when we're quitting drinking. Like, it sucks some days, especially in the beginning. It's tough, but it does get better. It gets a little easier. Yeah. You get a bigger community. You get bigger. You get more people to support you. And so, can you talk about that grind? Just even whether it applies to baseball or whether it applies to what you're going through now. Like, how do you get through that?
Yeah, I mean, there was never a time in my life during the grind, even when I was going bad through college or minor leagues, even in my big league career, where I ever thought about giving up, because I loved what I was doing so much. Yeah. Right. And I think that's what a lot of people don't get in this world is they do jobs or they do things because they need to get a paycheck and they hate what they do. That's no way to live, man. Yeah. Since I've retired, I've tried so many different things, throw so much shit against the wall, and I quit within 2 months because I hate it. It's not, and people are, you got to give it a chance. I'm not going to give it a chance if I wake up every day miserable and hate doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Right. So I've been bouncing back and forth into things. To me, that's insane, right? If you continue to do something you don't want to do just to make money, there's more to life than that. And so with baseball, even when I struggled, it kept me going because I knew, because I loved what I did. And I think Steve Jobs said something along that lines before he died. Is like, that's the very definition of insanity, is people going to work every day for jobs they hate. Yeah. It's something that, but same thing with sobriety. Like, for me, like I was telling you earlier, right now I'm starting to love how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Things are starting to wake up, and I keep hearing how great you're going to feel in 6 months, and just, you got to be patient. I'm like, you wish you could hit that fast forward button and be there now. Right. And to know what that would feel like. But I'm loving this process right so far. Yeah. So that's what I'm really enjoying. Like, I love my baseball process. I'm loving this process too. It's the battle, right? Because I've grinded so hard in baseball. I've gone through the failures and the bullshit. Yeah. To me, this is no different. It's just a different way of looking at it. That's more physical. This is more mental.
Yeah. So are you starting to, you talked about the fog. I hear that a lot too. I remember going through it myself, just a little bit foggy. You kind of feel like your brain is almost defrosting. What do you do on those moments when it gets, I guess, well, you kind of said you go on a bike ride, but you're trying to have different things to do to keep you occupied, because I think the boredom is what gets to a lot of dudes out there too, or it's routine. I get home from work, I had a commute, or maybe it was just a long day. And what do? I'm going to go crack a beer because it's that routine. How do you break those routines, man? Have you noticed anything with that, or how you been doing?
Well,
that?
yeah, my routine, like I was saying, at 5 o'clock, that happy hour time, I go hit the gym. But when I'm having that brain fog, that's not always the case. You just can't snap yourself out of it and go hit the gym. I don't want to. I don't need to. And I remember my ex-wife is over a year sober now, and we have a great relationship, and we talk a little bit about this, and she's kind of seeing me through this too, which has been cool. Yeah. And she said, yeah, I experienced that too. She goes, Aubrey, the best thing you can do is just sit in it. When you have that brain fog, sit in it. Feel the uncomfortability. Don't try and numb it out. Because I think a lot of people, they have emotions and they try to block it out and not deal with them. And I did that a lot in my life, not dealing with emotions by drinking. Right. And so now she's like, it's important you sit in this moment, know that you're bored, know that it sucks, know that you have no energy. And I've tried to read. And when you have that brain fog, you can't read. You know, you're just like, you're not locked in at all, right? You don't have no desire to, you don't even want to watch TV. You're looking for any distraction. So what I found when I had the brain fog, I'm like, you know what? Obviously something's healing. My body's healing. I'm going to take a nap. Yeah. You know, I just take a nap. Fuck it. Right. You know, if I have my kids, they're 12 and 10. They can take care of hey kids, because you got to take care of you. You can't take care of you. You can't take care of anybody else. So I'll go take a 30-minute cat nap, and by and large, most of the time I wake up, I'm more refreshed. I'm like, hey, get a cup of coffee. Let's go. For me, I just lay there and relax in this boredom, if you will, or this fog. And so that's worked for me, a nap. Simple as that.
That's good though too, because and I love that advice from your ex-wife too. And I think it's great that she's supporting you and you guys are kind of walking through this. That's huge because you need that support from everyone, especially those, close to you. But you're sitting in it. You're just accepting it instead of running from it. Okay. Even if it means taking a nap, there it is. I'll just rest it because it normally passes. It's like, okay, I'm having this urge. Let me call somebody, take a nap, go on a run, whatever. It's going to pass. I know this is totally off topic, but I didn't want to forget about this. I saw you are a big Nolan Ryan fan.
Nolan Ryan? Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I saw him throw his 7th no-hitter in Oakland when I was a kid, and it was just freaking, it was like magic, man. I never forget that.
My mom had tickets to his 6th no-hitter, I think. We were to go, and this was after my dad had passed, and she was dead tired from working a double shift.
Oh, man.
And she didn't take us. We missed that game. He threw a no-hitter. I would have been there. Damn. But, it's an interesting story. I love this Nolan Ryan story. I grew up in Texas, and I always wanted to play for the Texas Rangers.
Yeah.
And in 2010, I'm with the San Francisco Giants, and we're in game 4 against the Rangers in Arlington. And I ended up hitting a game-winning 2-run home run in the top of the 3rd inning. It ended up being the game winner.
Yeah.
And looking up, we'd just taken a 3-1 series lead in that series. But as I'm rounding the bases, going into home, high-fiving my teammates after the home run, I happened to look over by the Rangers dugout. And Nolan Ryan at the time was kind of running the day-to-day operations for the Rangers. I don't know what his role is now. I don't watch baseball anymore.
Yeah.
But I look at Nolan Ryan, glance over at him, sitting right next to the dugout. He looks up at the scoreboard like this and was like, and I'm thinking to myself, I just made my fucking childhood idol shake his head. I was like, wow, what a feeling. It was so cool. Yeah.
That
it
is
was
awesome,
neat.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is cool. What a great story too. Freaking Nolan Ryan, man. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting story how I got into baseball too. I mean, I was 6 years old, and I started playing t-ball, Little League. Yeah. My grandmother and grandfather, when my mom was working, we stayed over at her house, and they loved the Texas Rangers. We lived 40 minutes west of Fort Worth, Arlington, Texas. And they listened to them on the radio or on the TV, and anytime I was over there, I was sitting in my grandma's lap and watched the Rangers. And my mom, after my dad had passed, took us to our first Texas Rangers game, me and my sister. And as I'm going to the game, we go there for batting practice. At the time, I was doing all these little doodly pictures of our acrylic logos of each and every 30 Major League Baseball teams.
Yeah.
I happened to have my Rangers one. It was about 12 by 12. It was a little square canvas. I take it down to the dugout during Rangers batting practice, and I'm please, can somebody sign my sign, right? And Jeff Houston, the shortstop for the Texas Rangers at the time, happened to be my grandmother's favorite player, by the way.
Yeah.
Comes walking over my way. I'm like, Mr. Houston, can you sign my painting? He goes, yeah, son, I'd love to. Did you paint that? I go, I did. Wow, that's awesome. I said, you're my grandma's favorite player. He goes, oh, that's sweet, son. This is a cool painting, dude. So he signs my painting. And he goes, hey, fellas. He turns around, yells at all the guys playing BP. Come here. Come sign this thing for this kid. I had 13 other Rangers come over and sign my painting. I was like, holy shit. It was unbelievable. I felt like a hero, right?
Yeah.
So I go home after the game. I don't remember who won the game that night. I was so jazzed up. And I get in the car. We're heading home. And I tell my mom in the backseat, I'm like, Mom, if you get me a batting cage and a pitching machine, I'm going to hit every day. And I swear to you, I'm going to become a Major League Baseball player one day. And if you do, I'm going to buy you a house and a car. Right. And she goes,
oh, wow.
Okay, fine. Okay, babe. I can't really afford it, but we'll see.
Yeah.
3 years go by, nothing happens. But I fell in love with baseball. I was playing Little League. She was taking me to all the games and et cetera. Yeah. She knew I had a passion for it. And 3 years gone by since I'd asked her that. On Christmas morning, my family's open presents, my grandma, my grandpa, my sister, my mom. I'm opening nothing. Like towards the end of the tree, that's the last present. I'm like, oh, I'm 9 years old. Oh, I think Santa, did he not want to give me a present? Was I a bad boy? Right. My grandpa's a hard ass. Like, get up, you pussy. Like he puts a blindfold on me. He starts leading me out, and go out to the backyard. Takes it off, and there's a batting cage with a pitching machine. Way. Holy shit! So I mean, instantly, I was like, wow. So I go out there and I made my promise to my mom. I said, I'm going to hit 200 baseballs a day till I graduate high school, which I did. I loved it.
And you had the batting cage in your backyard,
backyard.
Yeah. That's badass.
And so interesting story. When I signed my first big league contract, I think I signed, it was 3 years, $15 million for the Rays. Had a mom and son off-season breakfast day, picked her up, took her to the Dodge dealership. She loved trucks, picked her out a truck. And she didn't know I was going to do this. I said, I got one more surprise. Follow me. And so she follows me in, and I'd already had this all set up. I'm driving into a brand new 2-story beach house on the water in St. Pete, Florida.
Wow. No way.
And she pulls it. She almost rear ends me because I could see her crying in the rearview mirror, right? The agent's at the for sale sign with the for sale sign off, hands her the keys. My mom's crying. I'm crying. The agent's almost crying. Wow. Right? It was like it was an awesome feeling, dude, to be able to do that. Man. It was like a dream come true. Like everything I said was going to happen. And I knew when I was 6 years old, when I told her that in the truck on the way home after that Ranger game, I knew I was going to be a Major League Baseball player. There was no plan B.
Yeah.
I just knew it. And that was it. Man,
what is it about when we know, and thank you for sharing that too. Freaking awesome. Like, man, it's a great investment, a batting cage. The return on that.
Well, it doesn't always work out that way.
Not always.
I got pretty lucky. Right place, right time.
Yeah. But you also put the work in. You swung 200 times a day, and you grind it out like we were talking about.
The harder you work, the luckier you get. Absolutely.
I love it. But what is it about knowing something? Like you said earlier with the Adderall, like I just knew I was done.
Yeah.
I knew I was going to be a Major League Baseball player. Like when I quit drinking and gave up and I finally told my wife, I knew I was done. Now, I'm not saying that I couldn't fuck up again. I'm very aware of that. And I'm very, I keep that in the front of my brain. So I'm not getting, arrogant or anything like that, but I want to be on point. But what is it where we just know something? It's this feeling inside. Like I've had it happen many times too. I knew that, we were going to get this house. I knew I was going to get this job. I knew I was going to start this podcast and it was going to turn into something eventually that would help people. I don't know what it is. Do you have any idea what you think it might be?
I think it's a spirit-filled excitement. Yeah. I think it's something that I think it's in your DNA, right?
Yeah.
Like something in your mind finally clicks in your DNA that subconsciously you don't know about. And it just goes, oh, yeah. Wow. It just makes sense. And you don't even have any rhyme or reason, right?
Yep.
And I think, for me too, I mean, that was with baseball. But with the Adderall, it was a pissed off feeling.
Mm.
I was so pissed off to change that, and I think sometimes you want to be positive in your change, but there's a lot of times anger can go a long way and being pissed off.
Yeah.
I think Ray Lewis said it best. You got to be pissed off for greatness, right?
Mm.
And I love that quote because I think so often you got to get raw with yourself, right? Like, with the Adderall, I got raw with myself. I'm like, I'm fucking tired of being this guy. I hate who I am. I'm a pussy. I'm sick of me. Yeah. I hate me, right? Fuck you. I'm not going to be this guy anymore. Fuck that old guy. He's dead. I'm going to kill him, right? And that's kind of where I was with that. I'm like, and it got me pumped up and jazzed up instead of just kind of being like, well, it's like part of my life, and I'm going to try. I'm going to try and beat this and positive think my way out of this bullshit, man. I think a lot of times, especially with sobriety, for me with the Adderall, at least, it was, fuck you. This is my life. You will not own this shit. You will not beat me. Right.
Yeah. It's like a strong why. It's a strong purpose, I guess, in that movement where you have to really, really want it. And if you half-ass it, it just, I don't know. It doesn't seem to work,
Right.
Man, yeah, that's good stuff, dude. You mentioned your dad a couple times, man. I was just wondering if you wanted to share a little bit about the story. I know you lost him at a young age. Did that have a pretty profound effect on you, or was it something that
I suppressed that for the longest time. I think that's why I drank so much. My dad was murdered in Abilene, Texas when I was 6 years old, breaking up a domestic dispute between a husband and wife at his job, at his workplace. And so that was very devastating for me, my sister, and my mom. And I didn't really deal with it. As a kid, it didn't seem real. And as I got older, my mom, anytime I asked my mom about my dad, she would suppress it and sweep it under. She didn't want to talk about it. So there was never any resolution there. And when I died, you don't remember much before 6 years old, right? A lot of memories. I don't anyway. I think I've killed so many brain cells, but the one memory I have of my father, and this is like it happened yesterday, was when I was probably 5 years old. I was sitting on my trailer park carpet watching black and white television, a little TV this big. I don't remember what I was watching. It was some cartoon. I think it was Tom and Jerry or something. And I happened to look back behind my dad, who just came home from work, and he was sitting in an old rusty lazy boy, and he had a cigarette in one hand, a beer in the other, and he was just staring off into space like this.
Wow.
Just miserable. And I saw the misery on his face. I'm like, my dad looks sad. And I thought to myself in that moment, I'm going to go back there. I'm going to try and play with him. And I walked over there, grabbed his leg and pulled on his pants leg. Dad, I love you. Let's play. And he didn't even budge. Just didn't even look at me, didn't say a word, and just was out of it. He was that fog that I was talking about, right? And I remember that hurt. I just walked away thinking to myself, my dad don't even want to play with me, right? And so, a year later he was gone. And that was really the only real memory I have, which is sad. And as I got older, I realized that, he had his demons too. My mom had told me that he was out partying every night, womanizing, things of that nature. So the good news was I found out through his sister, my mom and my dad happened to be going through a divorce at the time right before he died. And I didn't even know that.
Really? Wow.
And so he was living with his sister right before he died. And she said that 2 weeks before he died, he started going to church, was saved, and asked for forgiveness. It was unbelievable timing, right?
Dang.
So that, when I heard that from her years later, that filled me up with a lot more happiness and peace. I as a Christian guy, I just don't, I was always worried about my dad's soul, right? And when I heard that, it was like a load off my shoulders. But I never had that father figure growing up, except for my grandfather, who replaced him very well. He was a hard Texas man, and really taught me the value of hard work, respect, and honoring your country and your family, and providing, protecting as a man. And if I didn't have him, God knows where I would be.
Yeah, dude, that's great, man. And it's funny how God, we get cards that we're dealt, we don't get to pick, but doesn't that make you just want to be the best father possible too?
Unbelievable, dude. It lights me up, bro. I tell my best friend this all the time. If I didn't have my voice, I know I would be in Guatemala right now doing cocaine and banging hookers. I know it. They give me so much purpose, so much love and affection, and knowing how I felt as a young man without a father growing up. I think that many guys that don't have that, you can go either one of two ways. You can go dark as hell because you didn't have a father growing up and use that as an excuse, or you can be a better man for it, knowing what it feels like as a young man not to have a father and be the best dad you can be, which I chose. And I love it. I love being a dad. If I wasn't a dad, like I said, I'd be in a lot of trouble. I sacrifice so much for those guys, and it's not a job. It's a pleasure. To be quite honest with you.
No, it's great, dude. It's good. I 100%, man. Like my kids, that's everything, everything. And it's not always easy either, man. Some days I'm like, holy shit, God, how did you give me children? Like, I can't believe this.
Oh yeah.
You mentioned something that hits me like, kind of the victim mentality, I guess, like I didn't have a dad or this or that or whatever. I remember I was talking to my sponsor one day, and I was bitching about all the things that I'd felt that my dad didn't do and that he couldn't do. And he goes, and he doesn't do this often either. He's pretty chill, dude. He goes, will you shut the fuck up? And I said, whoa. And I go, well, what do you mean? And he goes, man, you're sitting here bitching about all the things your dad didn't do, and your dad didn't do this. You're setting expectations that your dad will never be able to meet. So get over it. He goes, look at all the dudes that God's put in your life. Look at all the other men that God has provided to show you the things that you expected from your dad that he couldn't do. He's on his own journey himself. And you kind of mentioned that too about your dad. You kind of come to realize that our parents are people too. They're not just mom and dad. And then like that changed the whole perspective for me to be able to look at, and I guess the word that's coming to mind right now is grace. Just like giving people grace, number one, and giving myself grace in that moment and allowing myself to learn, okay, man, wait a minute. I don't have to think like that, but here's the point to that. The victim mentality fucking destroys people, period.
Yes.
Whatever situation it is. And, I can't express it enough how much some personal responsibility we need as men out there in the world today. And that's why I love Alpha American too. And you're probably doing the same, trying to show your boys. I'm trying to do the same, show my boy that like, it's okay to be a man. You know what I mean? Like it's okay. Is that, you want to talk a little bit about Alpha American? I mean, is that kind of some of the culture behind it? Or what's your take?
I have a shirt that's my best seller, a matter of fact, Shane, and it's a shirt that says band participation trophies.
I love that. I'm going to get that, by the way.
It's the number one seller by far. I can't keep it in stock. And it's actually, I just got a fresh stock yesterday, so get on it.
Yes, I will.
So, I feel like in this society today, you're right. The culture is victimhood mentality. Mm-hmm. And where did it all start? And in my opinion, it was when these kids started getting all these participation trophies.
Yeah.
We've taught kids today. I didn't get all that stuff. If we got second place or lost a championship, hey, great season. Let's go get some ice cream. That was it. Yeah. We didn't get trophies. We weren't putting them on I didn't get a ribbon.
Yeah.
Right. So, and this is how we grew up. And over the last 20, 30 years, we have this philosophy that, we got to coddle these kids and make them feel like special. They're special. No, they're not. In order to be special, you got to work. You got to be grind. You got to achieve number one status. Just like Ricky Bobby said, "Made first, you're last." Right. So
yes,
I hate this culture of all these participation trophy winners that are now in our society today. They're all grown up, and they're the same ones that are hitting the streets, that are burning down buildings, that are pissed off because what they've realized is, oh my gosh, I'm 25 years old. Somebody's not handing me a job. Somebody's not handing me money. Somebody's not giving me everything. What the fuck's going on? And they're so used to having their way.
Yeah.
Now they don't. And now they're pissed off and they're angry.
Yeah.
Right. And so to me, that's one of our biggest wars, I think, between the victimhood mentality of these entitled, spoiled brats, and more importantly, the attack on masculinity, as you touched on. If you look around our society today, that's another part of Alpha American, right? Is my passion is for men. I'm sick and tired of I live in Southern California, as do you.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times you walk and see a guy wearing a purse, right? or these skinny, frail, blue-haired guys eating granola and telling us how to be masculine, right? No, and telling us it's okay to dress like women.
Yeah.
It's confusing. And what we're teaching young boys in school, I can go off on this forever, Shane, but look at our young boys in school today. The majority of our boys today they're all inherently rambunctious.
Mm-hmm.
They want to compete.
Oh yeah.
They want to have fun. They're loud. Their testosterone's starting to rage. Yep. And so teachers who are, let's be honest, mostly all women, think there's something wrong with this child because they can't be controlled. So they have a sit down with mom and dad has no backbone and doesn't take up for their kid. And this teacher convinces them to go take their kid into the doctor who pumps them full of Ritalin or Adderall.
Yep.
We're destroying young men through society, through lies. Kids are naturally rambunctious, little boys. And the attack on men in society, and it even happens in the divorce court, family court system. Oh, yeah. Most of the time, it's men getting fucked over, So
California is the worst for that.
And if you can, for one of them. If you can take out the strong, pro-American, God-fearing alpha male, mm-hmm. then you control the world. Yep. Right? There's nothing to fear if you're a globalist or an elite. And now we're going through the rabbit hole instead of the sober podcast. But
that's right. We could, That's
that's my passion behind my shirt brand. My boys are my passion. A matter of fact, as of yesterday, I don't know if you heard, Shane, that Gavin Newsom mandated that every city worker and healthcare professional get vaccinated. Yeah. And then our governor here in San Diego is giving governmental asylum or something to restaurants who mandate that their not employees, but their customers be vaccinated. Won't let people unvaccinated to their restaurant. So I had enough, and I decided I'm going to start planning a rally here in Southern California. So, and I'm doing this for my boys. Yeah. Not for, I'm sick of seeing it. Like if I didn't have my boys, I'll be sitting back just watching the world burn, whatever. Yeah. But because I have my boys, I want them to grow up in America that I believe in, that I love growing up. Yeah. I want that for them too.
I love it, man. We appreciate the rallies. I'll just leave it at that. So please shoot me the info when or if you need help even, whatever, man. I love it.
We're locking in the place and time as we speak, probably this week.
Okay. Awesome. And here's the thing, man, like this, and I'll try not to go too far down because I did this last year. I actually almost quit the podcast, man, just because I got really wrapped up in a lot of this stuff. And I'm the same as you. I'm very passionate about it. But I also try to separate like my recovery from it. And it's really hard because it's normal life stuff. And I have a lot of strong beliefs, but here's at the end of the day, what I believe in. And I think you would probably agree with this, Aubrey. I fucking believe in freedom, period.
Yeah.
Like the illusion of the two-party system is a fucking joke. It's been like that for decades. Like it's the perception of choice. It's not true. And so I don't care what side it is. I just want to be free. I want to have free choice. I want my kids to have a choice in what they can do. And right now we're not seeing any of that. And so, of course, they're going to try to crush, that alpha spirit, and it's not going to happen. So I'll just kind of leave it at that.
No, I love it, man. Me and you think quite alike. And I always gravitate doing podcasts with people I know I'm going to get along with, right? And I will never do a podcast with a liberal beta male or a soy Karen. Just won't do it. There's no
debate. There's no debatable. They don't debate. So it's not a critical thinking conversation.
They don't fight fair. They just yell down at you when you're making good points. They just yell and call you a racist or whatever. But you hit the nail on the head, dude. Like I would consider myself a Republican. And when I played Major League Baseball, I wasn't political at all. I didn't give a shit. But I woke up after I retired, watched how the media treated Barack Obama and how they treated Donald Trump. I'm like, wait, something isn't stirring the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
And I started watching and using my common sense. And like I said, I leaned Republican. And as I've watched the Donald Trump fiasco over the last 4 years, I believe that God used him. And I tweeted this, or I posted on Instagram today. Yeah. I believe God used Donald Trump to wake up the masses to just show how evil both parties are.
Yep.
And I still lean Republican as far as their policies, and because I believe in pro-life, and I can't believe anybody would be a Christian being a liberal. It's just I don't think it's possible. So obviously I believe in the Republican viewpoint.
Yeah.
But I know for a fact now, after what I've been seeing the last 4 years, that they are both part of this huge cabal.
Yep.
That's part of this whole operation to appear like there's two-party system, but they're all one. And it's meant to divide us.
100%.
And it took me the longest time to see that. It took me 6 years to see it. And I hope more and more people wake up because it's all a fucking lie.
I do too, man. And that's one thing I love about the sober community is the sober recovery community is 100% proof that we can all be from different backgrounds, different colors, different races, different people. We have one thing in common. We struggle with alcohol maybe or drugs or whatever, but we can all come together and live civilly and be the good people that God designed us and find purpose in that. The problem is that you're right. It's a division tactic. And so until we start kind of seeing it for what it is, and I think it was KRS-One, one of my favorite quotes, he said, and I'm kind of paraphrasing because I don't remember exactly, but it was something along the lines of getting mad at the president is like getting mad at the manager of a McDonald's if they raise the price on a Big Mac or something along those lines. In other words, there's a very broader picture here that if we don't take the time ourselves as individuals to look into and study a little bit and look at the Constitution, look at those types of things that history has done that you don't know because we weren't taught that shit in school. They didn't teach us that. You know what I mean? Like that was not on the agenda there. The agenda was to be a tax asset. Now I'm getting on a fucking soapbox myself too, but I just love freedom. I know you love freedom. I hope everybody listening to the podcast right now can just understand that, yes, my mission is to help dudes stay sober, like period. Because if you can stay sober, it awakens your spirit from within and the rest falls into place. At least in my experience, that has happened.
1,000%, Shane. And I say this all the time. I don't think you could, as a human being, a flawed human being, see the truth unless you have the Holy Spirit. Like for me, if I didn't have the discernment of the Holy Spirit, there's no way I could see all the lies before me.
Yeah.
Just the things, the common sense that I think I have, that's not me. That's the Holy Spirit, honestly.
Yeah.
I say when I have common sense and I can see things, that's being kind of like arrogant, right? I just think that's a godly thing. And we will be like, even in the Bible, it says that even Christians today, we will be hated because we love him. And we're seeing that right now. And who are the people that are vastly anti-vaccine? It's typically the conservative Christian, and we are being put right now backed into a wall as enemies that we're killing people because we're not vaccinated. I think there's, and I'm getting off topic here, but I think there's a war coming when it comes to the powerful elites that have divided us so much. They wanted the racial divide with the whole George Floyd. That didn't really happen.
Yeah.
So this is their new divisive tactic. And they're leading people to believe that unvaccinated people are killing people.
Yeah.
And that's going to be hard to step away from and to kind of debunk that, because people don't know how to think for themselves. They can't see things for what they really are. They'll believe anything the media tells them. And the media is owned by the people behind the politicians who are pulling the strings.
Yep.
Right. This country is not run by President Biden. It's not run by politicians. It's run by the people that have all the money behind them.
Yep.
And who knows who that is?
There's a great book that I read a long time ago when I started to kind of go down this awakening. It's called None Dare Call It Conspiracy by Gary Allen. Very good book.
I got to read that. What's it called?
Yeah, None Dare Call It Conspiracy by Gary Allen. And man, a lot of stuff that you're talking about, that we're talking about, that goes over the banking systems, even Constitution to some extent, and how it's used or not used. In any case, I was going to say something else, and what the hell was it? I forgot now. Dang it. Anyways, I don't know, man. It's definitely a crazy time right now. It's also, I know what I was going to say. I had someone in my own family, the other day who I love very much and care about very much ask, well, you got the jab, right? And my first response, because here's my favorite response to this when people ask me, when was the last time you had your butthole looked at? Oh, that's right. It's none of your business. My medical stuff.
I like this one. This one happened at to a buddy of mine. I guess he walked into a Walmart or something. I guess
I didn't say that to the person that I love, by the way. I just want to clarify that, though. I held my tongue, but okay, sorry, go ahead.
It was like a liberal, like college girl that agreed her at like a Walmart, and he was like wiping down the cart or whatever. He's about to pull it out, and she had the mask on. She said, "Sir, do you have a mask?" He goes, No. She goes, "Well, are you vaccinated?" And he goes, "Do you like anal?"
Oh, shit.
She goes, "I'm sorry, sir. Well, I mean, you're asking me private information. I just want to know.
Yeah.
This is probably. I just wanted to ask you if you like anal."
Yeah.
She ran off like to go get her manager. Man. He just went about his day.
Yeah.
That's how you handle these idiots, right?
Well, it is. I mean, isn't there? We have a right to privacy. We have a right to. And that's all we're trying to, because I know I'm going to get some shit for this. I can hear it already, but I don't like, we're just practicing our First Amendment here. We're practicing some truth. We're practicing some conversation, some debate, some critical thinking stuff. And I just wish people, might take a little time to step back and just look at the big picture and kind of look at it through a lens of, earphones came out. A lens of constructiveness, I guess, and the ability to kind of separate things and look at them objectively versus just listening and buying into every single. And that goes on both sides of the aisle. So.
But let's be honest, it's pretty much that's a real problem more on one side than the other.
I would agree.
I feel
100%.
I feel like the whole jab community is, it's my body, my choice. That's all they preach all the time. And now they're shoving their agenda down my throat. Listen, you want to get a jab? That's all you. Go nuts. I don't care. You want to be, if you're a woman and you want to be a guy, or you're a guy, you want to cut off your dick and be a woman, I don't care. Just don't cram that viewpoint down my throat, and don't try to indoctrinate my kids. Mm-hmm. Don't tell them what they need to do. This is not your decision, right? And if your jab works as you claim it to be, then you should be completely fine from me, right? So I don't understand their reasoning.
Well, that's the thing, and none of it.
It's mental illness.
None of it makes any sense, and I think for sensible people, we just go, "What the hell is going on right now?" Like none of it makes any sense. And I think that's a big part of it. Anyways, man, I love this convo, dude. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today I want to be respectful of time. We're almost at an hour today. Let's kind of wrap it up with just like, what's next for you in trying to stay sober? I know you're kind of doing one day at a time. Let me say this too, so I don't forget. I really do feel like, man, like you have such a platform, such an influence over men out there. And I just want to commend you and just say, I'm proud of you, bro. And I'm grateful that I'm, getting to chat with you today and met you, just because of the fact of doing what you're doing, being outspoken about everything. And then specifically on the alcohol front, trying to stay sober. It's not easy. And you've put yourself out there and you're continuing to do it. And I think you're going to influence a lot of dudes to do the same. And I appreciate you for it, man.
I appreciate that, Shane. Well, that's to me, that's real confidence. That's real alpha, is when you're vulnerable, right? Yeah. And you can, because there's so many guys who, I feel like a lot of things would be solved if they were vulnerable and let their true feelings out and be able to speak and talk about some of their struggles. But we've been taught in a society today that to be a real man, you got to be hard and suck it up and take it. And just quit bitching, right? Sometimes it's good to talk. Sometimes it's good to talk things out and be vulnerable and let some things out that are bothering you. And for me, that's been really hard because I was a sports guy.
Yeah,
and we're not supposed to show an emotion out there on the arena. It's hard all the time. Tough face. Don't let the enemy see any emotion. And so that was hard for me to really get to. And I tell you, the minute I started being more open about my struggles, whether it been alcohol, depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, things of that nature, the more and more I talked about that, and it was hard to do at first, scary as fuck, because I'm doing something I've never done. The amount of guys that would reach out privately, direct messaging, made me feel like, holy shit, so many, saying thank you. And it was giving me strength to continue on. And the more and more I talked about it, guess what? The more and more I healed from depression, anxiety, and things of that nature. Because there's something about God and his spirit. When you help others, it comes back to you twofold, right?
Yep.
And it makes you feel better as well.
Yep. That's my sponsor says that often. If you're struggling with anxiety, go help somebody who's struggling with anxiety.
Yeah.
Or whatever the case is, man. And you're 100% on that, man. We serve, we help other people. Good stuff, man. So where can folks follow you at? I know I'll put all the links in the show notes today. It's alphaamerican.com if they want to check out any of the merch there. What about on Instagram?
Instagram, I'm at HuffDaddy76. You have to type in the entire handle. You can't type in my name and it shows up. And I have a verified check mark with 275,000 followers.
I know.
I'm so shocked. You have to type in my entire handle, HuffDaddy76 to even find me. It's crazy. Yeah. Yep. That's it.
At Alpha_American_official. I know you have a couple backup accounts just in case.
Yeah. Well,
too,
when you go to my Huff Daddy 76 page, all my Alpha American link and page is there as well, so you'll be able to see.
Okay, awesome, man, dude. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today, Aubrey. I appreciate you, man.
You got it, Shane, man. Keep doing you, brother.
Thanks, man.
All right, buddy.